Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another day on God's beautiful green earth. Ain't a lot precious. I have a little rant today that deals with some lawyers that go before the circuit courts, the Supreme Court, fighting for your gun rights. You know, GOA, FRAC, gun owners. Y'all got to understand. They're not bringing the argument properly to these judges. And let me explain. Franklin Armory has came up with a firearm that is exempt from the NFA or GCA. It looks like a short-barreled rifle, but it's not. So, with that being said, this is my argument. Founding fathers came in, laid out the Constitution, the Bill of Rights. You can read the Federalist Papers. And the Second Amendment, when they put it in there, yeah, I can understand where it sounds kind of vague in a way, but there's one word in that whole amendment that makes a difference, and nobody's bringing this argument up. As you know, the One Big Beautiful Bill passed, and it was supposed to have the Hearing Protection Act and the Short Act included in their entirety, but the parliamentarian did not allow that. They just removed the $200 tax stamp, but you still have to register. And I agree that if there's no tax, there should be no registry. Now they're making crap up. Now they're saying, well, a registry is still legal because now it's a shall issue. No, the Constitution does not mention anything about shall issue anything. And this is the argument that you lawyers out there who are going to face the Supreme Court, the Court of Appeals, all these different places. Simple. Our founding fathers put in the Second Amendment stating a well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. That's the key word, ladies and gentlemen. Arms. They didn't specify a certain arm. Any weapon that can be used in self-defense, either offensively or defensively, is an arm. Okay? Doesn't say anything about common use. It doesn't say anything about law abiding. The right of the people to keep and bear arms. Not muskets, not pistols, not rifles, not bats, stun guns, machine guns. It states arms. And guess what everything I just mentioned to you is? It's an arm. Exactly. Does it make sense for our founding fathers to put all of this in place and yet still allow the government to regulate what you can and cannot have? If the Second Amendment was put in place, one of the reasons being to protect against a tyrannical government, it doesn't make sense for me to give the government the power to regulate what type of weapons you can and cannot have. If for one, by one day you may end up having to protect yourself against them. That's no different than telling somebody who's going to murder your entire family, you can regulate what they can protect themselves with when you go in there to kill them. I mean, that's how I see it. The Second Amendment states arms. It covers everything that can be used as an arm in self-defense, offensively or defensively. You need to wake up. They're trying to control you and make these laws that they know law-abiding citizens will follow, but criminals don't. So why do they make them? It's because we kind of outweigh the criminal population as far as numbers go. So the laws are not for the criminals, they're for you. And you need to stand up against that. I have no ill will in my heart towards anybody. I don't wish to go out and to cause anybody harm. I don't wish to take my firearms out to anybody and use them on them for no reason. So why is Congress making laws? Why are these Democrats so hip on creating laws that restrict you and me? Because the criminals don't care. Criminals they told Congress, hey, you can make whatever laws you want. It makes what I do easier. And they listen. And the Democrats are falling right in line like good little sheep that they are. We need people to stand up in these courts and say, you do not have the authority to regulate what we can and cannot have. The Constitution tells you what you can't do, not what you can do. And another thing that I might add, the hard thing about putting people in these positions for representation, judicial system, all this, is keeping them from enacting their own personal. Because then they become rulers. Because now they're enacting what they personally want done. It's like you putting me in the Supreme Court with all my buddies. We'll just enact what we want. What we think is right. That's not how it works. It's we the people who are the boss. It is you and I. We tell these people what we want, not the other way around. They work for us. They are our employee. And they need to start getting in line. So every firearm law on the books is unconstitutional because it doesn't work. When criminals start following laws, then we'll talk. But until then, you're not going to tie my hands. You're not going to take it out on me and other gun law abiding citizens everywhere. You're not going to do it. It's because we are free men and we don't ask permission. We tell you what it is. Making these laws to say, oh, we need common sense gun safety legislation. No, you don't. You are not responsible for my safety or the safety of American people. We are responsible for our own safety, which is why God gave us alienable rights to protect ourselves. Self-defense. But you come in here and you go, well, I don't know if it's self-defense. We might have to take this to court. No. If someone tries to harm your life and you stop them from doing that, that's justified. Another problem with society today is this law that you'll get arrested if you assault somebody. I believe only criminals assault people. But there are some people in this world that we come across every day that just need a good old country boy ass whooping. Straight up. If you're going to put yourself in my personal space and disrespect me, you need to have your ass handed to you. That's what keeps a polite society. That's what keeps people in check. Because you allow these people to walk people over, oh, well, you can't do nothing because he's not putting his hands on you. Well, you're still enabling the bad behavior. Okay. I'm not going to walk up to somebody who's interviewing people and cut them off and stand in between them and who they're talking to interrupt because I don't agree with what they're saying. People like that need their ass whooped. It's utter disrespect. And if you want respect back in this country, you're going to have to start putting boots to asses for these disrespectful idiots out here. Because when you don't, you say it's okay to do so. And then it gets worse. And then it grows. And then it grows. And then it grows. Where's the stopping point? When somebody does just finally decide to harm somebody because they disagree with them, well, they can't do nothing to me if I do this, so I wonder if I can do this. They need to fear disrespecting people. We need to bring back ass whoopings. Straight up. I seen a punk walk up to someone who was talking to somebody, interviewing them, and because he wanted to make himself out to be a butthead, he was constantly intervening their interview. Pushing, walking up to his face, what you gonna do about it, da-da-da-da-da. Okay, you could take your assault laws and all that shit and shove them up your ass. Because every time one of these idiots decides that they want to be disrespectful in your personal space, you hand them their ass. That's what you do. And I promise you this, if I was a law enforcement officer, I ain't taking you in. He shouldn't have put his mouth where his ass was. Straight up. Should have kept his mouth shut and mind his own business. Kids going to school these days. We say, man, we didn't have, school shootings when we were growing up. But they're crazy today. And I can look back to when it all started and have a pretty good idea why. See, when I went to school, and all of us, all the kids in town were in one place, right? Yeah, people weren't going to get along all that well and stuff. Sometimes we didn't see eye to eye. One had a problem with another. Okay, well, we had recess. We had after school, all that stuff. We'd all meet up. And we settled those differences right then and there. Now, somebody bullying somebody and they don't stand up because they're afraid they're going to get arrested at school. They're going to get fined and all this other stuff. Yeah, go ahead and let that build up. Guess what happens? Joe Blow shows up at school with a gun and says, screw it. If you're going to have law enforcement coming in, I'm going to show somebody something. And then they're going to go out there and massacre people. See, if kids have an issue with each other, let them handle it out. On a recess yard, after school, don't mess with them. They know how to work through their problems. Because if you don't, and it builds up, it becomes something bigger and worse. See, like I said, we didn't have this problem when I was growing up. We took care of our business. Face to face, man to man. And you know what? 99.9% of the time, when it was over, we shook hands. We were friends. We made a friend that day. We had a mutual respect for each other. But now the school thinks they know better. They think, oh, this can't happen. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a necessary evil, whether you like it or not. The only way you can have order, and I mean this wholeheartedly, the only way you can have order is if you allow those who have their differences work their differences out on their own. So if somebody got a problem with me in school, I'll meet you after school, brother. All right, cool. We'll find out why we got a problem. And, if it takes, a couple of dukes. Guess what? Somebody's earning somebody's respect that day. You know, you want to bully me? Let's go outside. I got your number. You want to make fun of me? That's fine. And stuff. But this is why you didn't have school shootings when we were growing up. Teachers stayed out of our business and let us handle up. And like I said, I made a lot of friends. A lot of friends. So think about that for a little bit. You know, it's like, I growing up, you know, and my cousins and us, we get into an argument or fight or whatever. We put the gloves on. Y'all go at it. And let the last man win. You don't stop till only one of you standing. When it was all said and done, I was hugging my cousin. He was hugging me. We had respect for each other. We went on about our day. We never looked back at that problem again. It was squashed. So, you know, like I said, it's a necessary evil. It doesn't need your intervention. So stop intervening in things like that and let nature take its course. You'll have more respect amongst each other. But like I said, if I'm going to be out in public, if somebody wants to get stupid and get into my personal space and talk crap, try to interfere with what I'm doing, you know, that's against me. That's against my rights. Might as well handle his ass now. And I don't want to hear no crying about it. You put yourself in my spot. You put yourself in my personal space, disrespecting me. We can't have that. You cannot have a polite society without respect. And since all these fools think they're untouchable, no, they need a wake-up call. Yeah. They need another coming to Jesus moment. Because that's the only way people are going to respect each other again. Because if you want to step into somebody's personal space, you're more likely not going to do it because you don't want that ass handed to you. So, all you law enforcement officers out there, if somebody walks into somebody's personal space, starts disrespecting them, all that, interfering with what they're doing, let them get that ass whooped. It's okay. It's good. It's okay. It's healthy. When they go home and they go to bed, in the next couple of days they heal from it, when they go back out in public again, they'll be less likely to want to do that again. So, let's stop interfering in God's plan and just let things go as they are. And remember, all you idiots out there, you want to disrespect people, expect that ass whooping. Peace.